Hello everyone, and welcome to another video here over on A Healthy Dose of Fran. So I have a special guest here with me today to discuss a very interesting topic that somewhat was inspired by a video from Unclaimed Demigod, who check out my collab with them by the way, but also check out the video on their channel, which is about the discussion of live action versus animation for the Percy Jackson adaptation. And well, I thought I'd kind of do a little bit more of the versus side of this by discussing both of the adaptation styles. So I've brought in a very special guest to discuss this with me and do a sort of balanced discussion of the two different types. And that is that PJO Guy here on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming to speak with me.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Yeah, so I am that PJO guy. I make Percy Jackson videos on YouTube, so go check me out. I'm currently making an ability series for the characters, so if you're interested in that, then you'll like that. That's gonna be fun. So yeah, I'm not good with intros, so I'm just
That's all good. That's a pretty good introduction. And also those ability videos are very, very good. So I
thank you.
recommend for
Yeah.
everyone. Linked in the description box to go check out that channel, by the way. But yeah, so we are both here to discuss the different types of adaptation, the live action versus animation debate. What we're going to be discussing is a sort of general back and forth of the positives that we see of live action and the positives that we see of animation. So because obviously your preference is live action, let's start with the sort of positives that you see for live action. I can't say that word. The positives you see for live action.
Okay. So yeah, live action is well, there's actually three main points that I'm going to touch on, but the first one I'm going to say here is that it's on Disney Plus. So what I mean by that is that the shows that are already existent on the platform, such as like Mandalorian or like those Marvel shows, they look great. Those things look spectacular. Like some people have just like said, oh, they look like movies. Like I agree, these things look great. The budgets have been pretty great on them, and yeah, these guys put effort into the stuff. And I think with live action, this will benefit greatly because Percy Jackson needs a budget. I'm sorry, it needs a budget. Like when we get to uh the underworld or some of the monsters and stuff, like we're gonna need a little bit of a budget here. So I think the quality that Disney brings out is going to be very, very beneficial.
No, I can see that. And from what we've heard, like they've not really kind of not done a budget for their live action stuff. Like everything has been of kind of very high quality. Like even what would be dubbed as just a kids show on Disney Plus, like Diary of a Future President, and I literally
Hmm.
can't think of another example. That's literally the only example I ever think of. I think there was another one recently. God, I can't actually remember it. It's that something William Benedict Society or something like that, which also was like a high budget. And also the person from that show is actually coming on to the Percy Jackson show. I think they were the set designer or something like that, and they
Oh
did an
shoot.
incredible job. And so Disney has shown the ability to make high quality TV shows. It's not like what,
Hmm.
and this is not a diss to like Disney Channel, like the Disney Channel as a whole, but it's not the level that you would see on Disney Channel. It is high quality HD level abilities of just kind of seeing things visually perfect.
Hmm.
But I definitely agree with budget wise, like that's not something we're going to have to worry about for a live action. I think the other thing is just like, unlike the films and even like I know in Unclaimed Demigod's video she mentioned like the live action Avatar film and stuff like that as well. Like the special effects that you see in
Yeah.
that, like that's low effort, if anything. Like, not only is
uh,
it not an attempt, it's low effort.
uh,
Whereas now, even if it's quote unquote low effort, you just need to see what fans have been able to do of things like this on just YouTube, like Reanime or
oh
J&J
yeah.
Studios and stuff like that. They've made like super skilled special effects, and that's without a budget.
Hmm.
Like, you can't say, like, there's no need to worry about things not looking right. I think that's the same though with like cast as well. Like there was a discussion of like the worry about the cast aging out too quickly.
Hmm.
Things are made really quickly these days. Like you get a season a year of most TV shows these year at these oh god, what's the word? In this day and age. Like it's a season a year of every single TV show. So
Yeah.
we don't really have to worry about aging out really either because quality and content comes out very quickly and easily because of how things are run in the industry. And like even the Wheel of Time, like Wheel of Time, the first season is going out right now. They're already filming season 2 for next year. Like they're on it. So that's
Yeah,
something we don't have to worry about, really, in my opinion.
that's a great point. That's good, great because everybody talks about that, like, oh, people are gonna age really quickly and stuff. But it's really interesting to note that like things get made so fast now. Like, wow,
Mm,
this technology have advanced and stuff. So yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point.
mm.
So the second point I want to touch on here, it's okay. This one is I don't really see anybody talk about this, and
Mm.
I want okay. How do I explain? So when you're reading Percy Jackson, one of the things for me that really makes the series is the realistic factor of everything. The fact that I can read this book and be entranced in the characters, where they're going. Like they're going to real places. They're going to like LA. They're going to New York. They're going to Greece. Like they're going to all these places, right?
Mm.
If you ask me, the more effective strategy here um, is to, have a live action setting of them actually going to these places, or at least a representation of these places when in a live action setting. Just imagine like actually them making like a full scale model of the of the Parthenon instead of like a drawing of the Parthenon. Like that thing would be, oh my gosh, that thing would be great. So yeah, I just think that the overall feel of like the characters going to real places is gonna stick a lot more with live action instead of
Mm.
an animation setting.
Yeah, that's something that I've definitely not heard a lot of people mention. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Um, I guess to kind of touch on a few of the negative aspects of live action, just to kind of keep this
Yeah, of
balance.
course.
I think in terms for me, the negatives that I can see for live action is just the worry for the cast. And this is a thing that
Oh,
I've talked about so much. As someone who's
oh no.
received like death threats and hate
Oh
messages from
no.
the Percy Jackson fandom,
Oh
I am
no.
so worried for these cast members. Because obviously we do know it is live action and they are actually casting for like Percy, Grover and Annabeth at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really worried about what this fandom's going to do because we've seen
Yep.
how rabid we can be when some things aren't accurate. Not even with like the film that shall not be named, but like in fan art. Like people who've put time and effort into creating fan art. If something is slightly deviated from what people deem to be correct in the books, that creator will get so much hate for it. And that's just the anxiety that I'm feeling for these young actors of coming to a fandom that has shown itself to be toxic enough that they would hate people for creating things for this fandom. And that's just a negative that I have because I never feel like actors are usually protected with adaptions in
Mm-hmm.
particular from the fandoms or made aware of how these fandoms can be. And that's just something that's just in the back of my mind of like this worry of what will
Mm-hmm.
happen with these child actors. I know it's not really about the adaptation itself, but it's just something that plays on my mind for live action. Whereas with like a voice acting cast for an animation, it doesn't really happen as much. Like there's some
Mm-hmm.
discussions
Yeah.
here and there, but like again, it's not really that common to hear and see a lot of hate for voice actors for an adaptation or for anything animation related.
I say more for like dub anime. That kind of stuff gets
Oh yeah, of
because you
course.
can see some people be like, "Oh shoot, I don't like that." Dub
Yeah.
better, but yeah. Yeah, no, that's a wonderful point to make. Honestly, everybody just like no matter like what they look like or what their gender, and it doesn't matter, right? Just give these guys like support because having a role that big, such as like Percy, Annabeth, any of those characters, and having the spotlight that they're going to have on them, it's a
Mm,
lot of pressure. And the last thing these guys need is you suck or like you don't look like my character. Like, come on, like what? Like, come
mm.
on, it's so like, what are you, 5? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so please just like give these actors support and because they really going to need it through their wonderful time on this show. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point about live action. I agree with that. So now another point I want the last point actually I want to make for my live action positive side is actually talking about again kind of the actors, and it's about the actors' growth within the story.
Mm.
So this is the argument of seeing the characters grow up rather than uh, getting them drawn grown up.
Mm.
So I strongly um, see this as a benefit because I can just see that like the whole story of Percy Jackson is the kid growing from 12 to 16. And it's just having the character, the actual actor himself, grow up with this character is going to be so much more effective as a storytelling narrative. And it's also going to just be just so cool to watch. Like, who doesn't love watching that? People love watching shows like Harry Potter, Star Wars, Cobra Kai, all these shows, right? Like people
Mm.
love this stuff, of course, for the story, but of course for the characters and how they grow up with the franchise. Like my mother was like going crazy when she saw Luke Skywalker and The Force Awakens growing up. Like that kind of stuff is just so awesome to see when we have these actors returning. And even with the new Spider-Man that's coming out, all these old actors are coming back. Like this stuff is so cool to see. And yeah, I'm just saying that like the growing up aspect reflects the story of Percy and his age development, and it also just has this like this factor of oh shoot, look at him grow. That's so cool. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm really excited to see this. I'm yeah.
Mm. No, I can definitely see that. That is a really good point, actually, and that is something that I'm always like. I don't think I've seen many animations. Well, I've definitely seen a lot of animated stuff, but I don't know if I've ever seen enough animated stuff where you are seeing these characters kind of grow. Other than like Arcane that I mentioned later, but that's like a time skip. But you kind of get that a little bit. You can see how they grow in animation, but it's
Mhm.
definitely a lot more subtle in some areas. So I'd be intrigued to see how that would work, but
Of
seeing it in
course.
live action is would chef's kiss sort of stuff from what we've seen with like other adaptations like Chronicles of
Well
Narnia,
said.
Harry Potter obviously as well, and oh god, what's another one that's coming to mind? Can't even think
Um,
of another one. Literally the first one I
yeah,
came to head was Chronicles of Narnia, and that's like the only one I can think of now.
those are good. Those are good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Um, but I guess kind of moving into the sort of positives for animation now. And the first
yeah.
one that kind of comes to mind for me is that I feel that animation can keep things more book accurate and keep more things from the
Oh
book
yes.
in the show than what you get with live action. Because obviously, live action wise, you only have so much that you can really kind of put into it. Because there's lots of they kind of do this a little bit with like animation as well, but it's definitely more common in live action of things like the establishing shot, the sort of the camera movements, and all these sort of things
Hmm.
are very different than what you would see in animation. Like I know we have a few things here and there with Into the Spider Verse, but when we've got those movement shots of Miles kind of moving throughout the city, that is a storytelling element. It's part of the story. It's not like something just for the kind of the sake of it that you kind of sometimes get in live action.
Hmm.
Whereas animation, things are they do have their slow moments, but I feel like you can just fit so much more into animation than you
Yep.
can in live action, just in general, but just how things are drawn, shot, and all these sort of things in animation. And also, you can fit a lot more in time wise, because, like, from what I've predicted, is that I feel like the episodes aren't going to be any longer than 40 minutes at the most, probably
Hmm.
30 minutes in general, because of
Yeah.
how the fact that it is, in a sense, a kid's show. I think if in live action that's going to be quite difficult to get a lot of stuff in, whereas with animation you can do a lot in 30 minutes with animation.
Hmm.
Whereas live action you are limited in some areas. So that's one positive I could see of it. Of you can get more stuff from the book in the show with animation than you can with live action.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely see that point. Like, a lot of people are like they see Percy, he's green eyes, black hair, whatever, he looks like how you always see him in art and stuff. And um, and then like then be able to actually draw that, that can do that part of the series justice, like anything you want, right? Annabeth can 100% be blonde now, like all that stuff, right?
Mm.
So um it's a great point that like yeah, these guys can um look exactly how we envision them. But there's also the case of like it's a book and people kind of envision these characters a little bit differently, depending on because like, everybody's a little bit different and how like they see things. So I think
Mm.
that no matter what drawing you get, like I don't know, it's not gonna be as big of a deal as if it was live action, but I feel like not everybody's gonna be on board with whatever drawing comes out. But
Mm.
you're definitely correct. It's definitely the safest option in terms of having uh, 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 a well represented like looking aesthetic to not just the characters but even like to the franchise, because I know a lot of people envision these books with animation in mind.
Mm.
So yeah, you're definitely correct about that. That's a great point. That's good. I just love animation, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
animated shows just they look good, they work good, like they just feel good. Like there's a difference. You're right, before what you said before, there's a difference between live action and animation with the style, how they're made, the shots that they get, right? A lot of stuff
Mm.
that you like do in live action is very difficult compared to the shots you can get in animation, because there's nobody holding a camera, or you know
Mm.
there's no like shady special effects. It's like you write it down, you have it. um if
No,
they did change it to that, like if they changed it to animation, I would not be like disappointed. I'd be like, oh great, cool animation. But
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that. There's also the fact that there's not really that as many limitations with animation as there are with live action. Like in Unclaimed Demigods video, she mentions like stunt doubles that will be needed for the show and stuff like that for
Hmm.
kids, or getting kids who actually have like stunt oh god, what's it like sort of like martial arts sort of like experience and stuff like that, or like stunt experience to kind of work with these sort of things, or getting
Yeah.
someone in to teach them and stuff like that, but also obviously keeping them safe. So there's no limits with animation in that sense. But animated, I'm one of those people where I want to see a mixture of different kinds of things. So it's a mixture of live action and animation throughout the whole Wildverse
Hmm.
adaptation. So I'm good with Percy Jackson being live action. Could have also been okay with it being animated. But
Hmm.
Heroes of Olympus
Oh boy.
100% has to be animated, because it
Hmm.
takes place over like one
Oh
year.
yeah. Oh
It's one
yeah.
year in 5 books. Like you
Hmm.
can't have that as live action. That's got to be animated. Um,
Hmm.
but other things like obviously Kane Chronicles is going to be live action. That's already been confirmed. Magnus Chase could technically be live action as well, although it could also be animated if we wish it to be. Trials of
Hmm.
Apollo probably should be animated. That's like over 6 months, so like that
Oh
would need to be
yeah.
animated as well. But like there is the ability to kind of play around with different types of adaptation like material of live action and animation. So even though that this one in the actual canon is going to be live action, we could see animation later on in the Roddenverse as well. So people who were kind of disappointed, it could happen. Like start a petition now, but it could happen.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where my point was with that, but like
No, good. I loved it. That was great.
there's just so much possibilities. But I guess kind of going into the negatives for animation, what sort of things do you have for that?
I don't know, because I don't really. I like. I don't want to bash animation, because like
Mm.
animation is like so good. Like I would love animation too. If they just randomly said, "Oh, hey, we're doing animation now," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, sure." Like I ain't gonna like say no to that. Like yeah,
Mm.
all I want is a good, faithful show, and I'm sure we can all agree with that. Like we all just want a good, faithful show about Percy Jackson and
Mm.
him eating blue cookies. But as long as they're blue. But I don't really think I have like a negative.
I agree with your points. Just like in general, like all I'm looking for is a faithful adaptation. Even though
Yeah,
I know they're not going to be able to adapt everything, like nothing is
a
ever
hundred
fully
percent.
adapted. But like
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm looking for. Whether it was animation or live action, I would have been happy with it either way. And I think that's just kind of the whole thing here. Just like no, it is going to be live action, and I know there are people who would have preferred for it to be animation.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we will get something animated later on, like a few of the things that we mentioned here as well. But
Yeah.
I think there are positives and negatives of both things, and that's the case with any kind of adaptation. You're going to find positives and negatives with whatever the way they go about doing it. But I'm just excited to see how they're going to do it and how things are going to go. I've got
Hmm.
some reservations, like I mentioned, with the actor sort of situation, but I'm going to hold all kind of thoughts on it and kind of similar to what I'm doing with like the Avatar live action adaptation, kind of hold my breath a little bit of kind of like a little bit nervous about what they could do, but waiting to see like a teaser trailer or just a trailer and see
Yeah.
how it's going to look. I don't really care about the actors in the sense, like, obviously, I care about their well being and stuff, but I don't care who's casted. I care how it's going to be, like how it's going to look and how it's going to
Gonna
sound. That's,
feel.
yeah, the feeling
Yeah.
of it. If it doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
that's going to be where things fall down. And that's the case whether it's animation or live action. It's just the feel of it. Does it feel like Percy Jackson?
Yeah. And I think that's not gonna be too difficult because um uh, I'm pretty sure like all of us have like a very similar feeling when it comes to Percy Jackson. Like there's not like I know like we like maybe some specific stuff we disagree about or something, but I think the overall just like when we read these books and what we get out of them, like we all just we if you want an faithful adaptation of it, we probably all want a similar feeling from these stories, right?
Mm.
Like I don't know whether it be like the humor or like the awesome action. Like there's specific stuff, but I think overall there's an underlying feeling that
Mm.
we're all gonna once it comes out, we're all gonna like just see if it does it or if it doesn't. But I mean, hey, yeah, the author's working on the show, the guy that made the musical is working on the show. We have some talented people working on the show. I'm optimistic about it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I hope everyone who is watching is going to be as well.
mhm,
And I think that's kind of like everything covered
mhm.
in a sense. Like, I don't think I've got anything further. How about you?
No, I mean, I made my points that I really wanted to make, so I'm happy about that. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just excited. I have like nothing to say. I just ever since it's like the stupid movies I saw, I'm like, this needs to be a TV show, and now we're finally getting one. This feels like a dream come true. So no
Mm.
matter what we get, like I think I'll be happy. I just hope that we have it. If I hope it feels like the show, the books we've been reading. So
Definitely.
yes.
All right, awesome. So for everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Be sure to go check out that PJO Guy's YouTube channel. It is going to be linked in the
Yeah.
description box down below. We are actually doing a collab on their channel as well, so keep an eye
Yep.
out for that. And if it's already out, it'll be carded. If it's not, it'll be eventually.
Yeah.
Um, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. But Josh, let everyone know, like, do you have like any social media that people can follow you on, or is it just like the YouTube channel?
Nah, I don't really do no social media. I just have the YouTube, but in a little bit, me and a few other Percy Jackson creators are going to create a Discord. So if y'all want to hop on that, then you
Ooh.
can. So
Send me
yeah,
an invite.
of course. Yeah. It's called the Blue Food Discord. So
Ooh, I
yeah,
like
so
it.
yeah,
I'm in.
you're all
I'm
good. Yeah,
invested.
awesome. I love it.
All right, awesome. Okay, so for everyone watching again, check out all the stuff in the description box down below for that PGO guy, as well as all my social medias and stuff like that. If you want to pre-order my short story, Echoes of the Past, that is also linked in the description box down below as well. Just gotta plug it somewhere. Um, and Josh, seriously, thank you so much for joining me for this collab. It has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and we will have to do more of these in future.
Oh,
100%.
my pleasure. This was amazing. Oh, thank you so much for letting me join. This was great.
No worries. It's been great. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.